Yes, this is Change the World Productions, and we have a kind of a startling historical video today. Of course, we're telling stories that Hollywood can't tell. And you see, Walt Disney had some inside information about UFOs, and he made a Disney special to introduce the aliens. It was never shown. We have a low-res copy you can get. And here's a little excerpt to introduce the work that we're going to be doing today.
Mankind has the unique ability to ignore the obvious, especially when the facts reveal a disturbing truth. We once believed the sun revolved around the earth. When Galileo demonstrated the reverse is true in 1634, he was charged with heresy and placed under house arrest for the last 8 years of his life. The charges were later dropped. 342 years later,
scientific verification of extraterrestrial life forms routinely arriving on Earth. Top secret reports from ongoing military investigations. Compelling home videos of alien craft captured within the last few months. World figures who have gone public with their own extraterrestrial experiences. The shocking history of government misinformation programs designed to prevent widespread panic. And personal accounts of those who have been abducted and studied against their will.
But it's such an incredible secret, nobody wants to believe it.
There is valuable scientific data that would prove once and for all that planet Earth is being visited by a highly evolved intelligence that is not from this world.
From beyond the boundaries of our perceptions, intelligent beings are beckoning mankind to join the galactic community. It's an invitation which is both wondrous and terrifying. This is the nature of alien encounters.
now as we approach a new millennium, mankind is in the midst of the most profound event in history, actual contact with intelligent life from other planets. For nearly 50 years, officials have been documenting routine alien encounters here on Earth, and thousands of people have seen or experienced this alien presence.
Yes, mankind has an incredible ability to ignore the obvious truth. And when we look at what's going on with UFOs, we see vast amounts of evidence. Incredible. We see TV shows being shown about it. Not just one or two, but literally hundreds of TV shows going on about UFOs. The bottom line that we need to understand is, even though we cannot prove that there is, we cannot prove that there isn't. We have to take a long look at it. Now today we're going to be talking about something rather strange. We're going to be showing you how certain foods that seem to be planted by UFOs were actually there and have circled around the world. Now these are foods that help to make us fat. And we're going to be showing you new scientific evidence that specifically tells us that bad bacteria from eating these foods, that these bacteria can take over your brain and cause you to crave these foods, making you fatter and fatter and fatter. And possibly, maybe it is a cookbook for aliens. Maybe they are eating us. Now we're going to start our little journey with some of the ideas from Alexander the Great. We're going to look at a little special about him.
One of the earliest USO reports comes from 329 BC. After witnessing what he described as shining shield-like objects flying into and out of the Jaxartes River in India, Alexander the Great was so convinced that he witnessed otherworldly vessels, he spent the final 6 years of his life searching for evidence of these objects in a diving bell, believed to be the world's first submarine.
Yes, Alexander the Great documented that he saw in India and Persia, he saw these aliens underneath the water. He saw what he called UFOs. Houses, he said, with lights. He had no idea what an airplane was or anything like that. But this is what he saw. Now, could it be that aliens were actually there for a different reason? Could it be that they were there to plant something?
Thank you, McGoth. bothers you. I see in her everything I fear.
This is a picture drawn by people from this ancient history showing us UFOs.
Yes, here's another one that was drawn showing UFOs.
This is an evidence that it was in existence.
Yet I have no idea what it is. This fear.
Alexander said he saw a type of like house with lights on it, purplish lights, different lights, under the water, moving. And him and his men, not just Alexander, a lot of his men, they documented this, they wrote about this. And then it rose up from the water. It was amazing. And he said it was very large, like a house. Some of them were small, some of them were like a house. And he said this, and he saw this in the Persia area, and also in parts of India.
Him describing this so detailed is another evidence of its existence.
Christopher Columbus saw UFOs. Did you know that?
No, never. Tell me about it more.
Well, you're going to watch right now. We're going to see the story.
Christopher Columbus and his crew moved slowly across one of the deepest ravines of the Atlantic and through the Bermuda Triangle. Below them is almost 4 miles of water. Suddenly, unearthly lights are seen flashing across the bottom of the ocean.
One of the earlier cases comes all the way back from the day before Columbus Day in 1492, before there was a Columbus Day. And it happened on the Santa Maria. This person's name was Gutierrez. And Gutierrez was on the Santa Maria with Christopher Columbus and noticed an object rising out of the water, a disc-shaped object.
A great flash of light with a level of brilliance unlike anything known at the time suddenly erupts from the sea to the sky, startling Columbus and his crew of 120 aboard the 3-ship Spanish fleet. In less than 5 hours, they would discover the New World.
Christopher Columbus maintained a log in the ship. It describes what could be interpreted as a UFO event. They saw, in the description given in the logbook, the flickering of a wax candle going up and down in the night. It couldn't have been a campfire on ground because it was beyond the horizon.
This possible USO incident is more than just legend and lore. For the first time ever, original text from Columbus's log has been made available to the History Channel by archivists at Fordham University, custodian of a rare handwritten copy of the journal. The October 11th, 1492 sighting was not an isolated occurrence. Over the 2-month journey, Columbus's log exhibits a consistent pattern of cryptically reported peculiar incidents, including unexplained sightings and unusual events in outer space. The following is from an entry on September 10th, 1492, the halfway point of the voyage.
The crew of the Nina stated they had seen a garajo and a water wagtail, but these birds never go farther than 25 leagues from the land.
From an entry September 11th, 1492.
Saw a large fragment of the mast of a vessel, apparently of 120 tons, but could not pick it up.
Entries on both September 17th and September 20th indicate that stars or other unidentified lights in the sky are seen to move.
The cause was that the star moved from its place, but the needles remained stationary.
And from the infamous entry of October 11th.
The Admiral, at 10 o'clock that evening, standing on the quarterdeck, saw a light. Calling to Pero Gutierrez, he told him he saw a light and bid him look that way, which he did and saw it. The Admiral again perceived it once or twice, appearing like the light of a wax candle, moving up and down.
Is it possible that these strange events, recorded during the most fabled nautical journey in history, were the result of otherworldly vessels tracking Columbus's fleet?
Here was an underwater UFO, and corn is planted by there. And corn starts right there. Evil corn. Isn't that amazing? Sugar and corn connected to UFO sightings, ancient UFO sightings. And who are the things that make people really fat? Corn and sugar. could it be that the evil aliens were actually trying to fatten up the race of people? Is it part of this murder going on? Is it intentional? You know that almost 5 million people have disappeared forever in the last couple of years. Are the aliens eating this? Is this part of their food? Well, maybe we cannot prove to the masses that there are evil aliens controlling our leaders, but to the intelligent mind we cannot prove that there is not. We need to learn to think critically. What we saw about Alexander, the little story, and yet here there was sugar discovered right next to the spot. And then sugar expands from this spot where they saw the UFOs. Sugar expands to take over the world. Next we found corn. We saw the story about Christopher Columbus and all the UFOs that he saw, and then here we find corn, and corn spreads out around the world. Low nutrients, high carbohydrate, making people fat, reducing hormones. And then what about the potato? You see, because down in Peru, where there's massive evidence of UFOs, etc., we're going to find that potato is discovered, and lo and behold, the potato glycemic foods then spread out throughout the world, low in nutrients, high in carbohydrates, making people fat. And we see that the effects of the potato. These high glycemic foods that supply little in nutrition, and yet they spark the blood sugar into a cycle of addiction, making you want more and more food. And then somebody comes along and makes white bread, white sugar and white bread. Now we're going to see some research about a certain bacteria that feeds on corn, potato, and high glycemic sugar that can actually take over the brain.
Newest research proves that virtually everything to do with weight gain and fat loss is directly related to what the medical community refers to as our second brain, or our GI tract.
Trust your gut? Well, not if you have this bad bacteria. You see, what we've known now is that this bad bacteria gets into your intestine and starts to take over your brain, controlling your mind, making you crave the foods that feed the bacteria. And these are foods that make you fat. Not a little bit fat, very fat. Antibiotics, sugar, all these other different things make you fat. Let's learn a little bit more.
GI tract is home to your immune system and contains trillions of living bacteria. And believe it or not, science has recently proven that this bacteria is in control of virtually everything to do with your metabolism and your overall health. Now, everyone has a certain percentage of good bacteria, commonly referred to as probiotic, and a percentage of bad bacteria, known as pathogenic. The natural balance of good bacteria to bad bacteria in healthy people with efficient fat-burning metabolisms is 85% good to 15% bad. You know these types of people. They're the people that can seem to eat anything and always stay lean. Now, the following fact may be hard to swallow, so be ready. Science has recently discovered that virtually all overweight men and women have an excess of pathogenic bacteria and too little probiotic bacteria. And here's why that's very bad news. For starters, the excess pathogenic bacteria flat out cripples your metabolism. It quite literally hijacks and destroys your fat-burning hormones while sending your fat-storing hormones through the roof. This alone makes it impossible to burn fat and results in even the healthy food you're eating being turned into the unsightly flab you're so desperately trying to rid yourself of. And if you've ever felt like you're gaining weight even when you're eating next to nothing, this is, in all likelihood, the exact reason why. What's more is that you're hungrier than you should be, and for all of the wrong foods. And the reason why is quite startling. You see, the metabolism-slowing bad bacteria actually reprograms your taste buds and your brain to crave all of the foods that it needs to multiply.
Could it be that aliens who planted these high glycemic, fat-forming foods actually started the bacteria that would drive us to eat them, to fatten us up.
You heard that correctly. The bad bacteria in your gut is using your body as a restaurant and is quite literally making you crave the food that it wants and needs. And the more bad bacteria you have, the more cravings you get for all of the wrong foods. Foods that are literally feeding your bad bacteria and allowing them to multiply uncontrollably. Sugar is at the top of this list that your bad bacteria devours and multiplies on.
Well, it's kind of a crazy, weird coincidence to find out that these foods were planted in the same place where UFOs were at the same time in our history, and that these foods spread out around the world. Kind of a coincidence. And also that this bacteria that would make us crave these foods would spread out around the world, making us fat. It's kind of a crazy thing here. In 1928, there was a host of different UFOs, and then along comes white bread, making us fat. And all of this gets into the addiction cycle of high glycemic foods.
If you've ever done that experiment in high school science class where you pour sugar on a petri dish in order to grow bacteria, that's exactly what's happening in your stomach right now. And unfortunately, multiple studies now prove artificial sweeteners to be even worse than sugar for fueling your bad bacteria and allowing it to terrorize your metabolism and your immune system. And even with the millions of dollars they have, the massive money-hungry food manufacturers will not be able to keep truths like this hidden for much longer. Truths that help explain why in the zero-calorie, diet soda age, the Western world is heavier and sicker than ever.
These foods will weaken the immune system, make you obese and fat, take away motivation, take away intellect, as if these foods are just not good for us in 1,000 ways. Low nutrients, fat, and they affect the brain. Scientific proof that these foods will weaken the brain.
As odd as it sounds, the reality is every piece of food you eat feeds either your good bacteria or your bad bacteria before it even has a chance to nourish you. You're unknowingly experiencing an inner battle between your good and bad bacteria with each and every meal you consume. And your nutrition is vital in order to maintain the ideal ratio of good to bad bacteria, which is now being recognized as the single most important factor for being able to experience healthy, long-term weight loss. Unfortunately, in the modern Western diet that's dominated by processed, sugar-laden foods and chemicals that you're exposed to on a daily basis, a playground has been created for your fat-storing pathogenic bacteria to flourish uncontrollably. And we can't forget to mention what is one of the worst obesity-causing pathogenic bacteria multipliers of all: antibiotics. Study after study proves the rate of obesity to be rising parallel to the use of antibiotics because of this. Heck, farmers figured this out long ago when they realized they just have to pump their livestock full of antibiotics in order to fatten them up like crazy. These antibiotics fed to livestock, of course, end up finding their way into your GI tract, allowing your bad bacteria to flourish even more. And when your fat-storing, health-derailing bacteria is flourishing, it's not just a weight loss nightmare. It also kills your energy, focus, and immune system and leaves you feeling sluggish and extremely susceptible to sickness. As a matter of fact, science has directly linked over 170 different diseases to pathogenic bacteria imbalance. You see, in addition to struggling with your weight, other telltale signs you're suffering from this imbalance include, but are not limited to, gas, bloating, indigestion, constipation, IBS or diarrhea, acid reflux, frequent headaches, anxiety, trouble sleeping, low energy, and sugar cravings.
So yes, a battle of the good bacteria, bad bacteria. And we can see that all of this research is true. And that could it possibly be that this bacteria was planted by an evil thought, an evil group of people, maybe an alien race? You see, because we can't prove that it isn't true, but we can't prove that it isn't true. We should take our awareness. Now what we need to do, let's assume that it's true. Whether it's true or false, what we do need to know is we need to recognize just what the antibiotics are doing to upset our bowel flora, and how artificial sweeteners feed the bad bacteria. We need to understand this. How synthetic chemicals, antibiotics, processed carbohydrates, sugar, just what they're doing to our health, and how they make us crave the foods that make us fatter and fatter, and more stupid, and more irritable, and more craving. We have to become aware. We have to recognize that we don't want this as a people. We don't want our children to become soda zombies. We don't want billions of people to die because of sugar drinks. We want to become more and more aware. We don't want people to become sugar zombies. Could it just be that this is a happenstance? Or could it be that there's an evil group of people trying to make profit from the sugar? That there's evil type of aliens and evil plans from these people to try to feast on us? Could that be true? Now let's look at a little story taken from little science fiction ideas about an alien race that comes with a book on how to serve mankind.
We come as friends.
This is a language of people from outer space, probably 500 times as intelligent as we are and 1,000 times more complex. Precisely what that book says. Serve man. I hope so.
Minutes.
Mr. Chambers! Mr. Chambers! Don't get on that ship! The rest of the book, To Serve Man, it's a cookbook.
Yeah, a cookbook, how to prepare man to be served. That was pretty good, but possibly, is there a little bit of truth in this? It could be that there is an evil alien race fattening us up.
This will give these humans the perfect flavor.
We wouldn't want you to lose weight.
It's because sooner or later, will all of us be on the menu?
Or more simply stated, the evolution of man. The cycle of going from dust to dessert.
It's a cookbook! It's a cookbook!
Stop! Don't you see what's happening here? They're fattening us up so they can eat us!
Oh, come on, Lisa.
You don't believe me? Then just look at this book that I found.
Scary idea, and possibly not really true, but we have to explore the possibility. Could it be that these aliens are kidnapping people? Maybe even our children? Is it possible? It really is a possibility. We have no proof that it's true, but we have no proof that it isn't. You see, it's a strange world when it comes down to children being kidnapped. And I broke up a major pedophile ring. I shot a movie about it. I broke up a pedophile ring in Romania, an international pedophile ring. We shot a series of movies. This international pedophile ring was selling children for Satanistic rituals, and the rumor was that there was an alien presence behind it. And not one of the world's media paid any attention. They all looked away. It's amazing, but they all looked away, giving us more proof that there is possibly an evil alien presence kidnapping people. And allow for possibilities in this world. The alien mind, the lizard mind, because we all have a lizard brain. We all have evolved it. In fact, dinosaurs ruled the world years and years ago, and they became extinct because of a comet. But yet, did that evil lizard brain live on? Well, in the human being, there's a lizard brain down beneath the limbic system, the rhinencephalon. And is it there, or does it try to control others? Here we have a couple of scenes from a movie called They Live, where the man, when he puts on the glasses, can see what the aliens have put there. So he takes off the glasses, and he sees this. But when he puts on the glasses, he sees the subliminal words that the aliens have put everywhere. There's a little fair use going on.
He sees the real truth. He sees clear.
Watch what, see, he sees this. When he puts on the glasses, he sees the reality. No independent thought. Consume.
Is it a possibility that we all have some glasses on and maybe it's time to take them off and see the real truth?
Could it be that this has a level of truth to it? I'm using a little bit of fair use in our sexual experiment. You see, ideas of I, consume, no independent thought, obey.
Media is a perfect tool to manipulate and influence people.
The subliminal types of work that are going on out there really seem to have worked because our society is becoming more and more placated, more and more submissive.
Is it possible that that is a tool of the aliens, how to project their will on humans?
Well,
Use the media?
It could be. Who could say that it isn't? Now, David Icke talks a lot about this. In fact, let's listen to David Icke talk about this idea, what he sees or doesn't see.
Where you have a small number of people who are actually not what they seem. They look human to people in everyday life.
Oh my God!
What's your problem?
Can that be true? Jesus, holy Christ.
Well, you know, it's possible that maybe we have been mass hypnotized and only very few people can see through the veil.
You know what? Only the people who avoid sugar, chemicals, and tobacco, because their mind gets cleaner and cleaner.
That might be part of their plan.
He saw that they actually, behind the human form, they weren't human at all. And they were the people in power. They were the bankers. They were the politicians. They were the president. They were some of the police.
Angel! More and more the truth. And how do we get that? Well, if you dare to care, then dare to share. If you share this video with your family and friends and others, this message will get across. And there's one thing more powerful than all the armies in the world, and that's an idea whose time has come. And if we can express this idea and share this idea, it is this idea that is much more powerful than the evil, ultra-rich aliens. Nothing stronger than an idea has come. And let's look at the end of the story of
It's fantastic, and it shows you that you have to be in the moment, you have to be aware, and then you can fight anything what comes next to you.
Yes, in the movie I was able to defeat the evil aliens. And the devil has been defeated and locked up for 1,000 years. As the Bible says, Maitreya the angel and defeat that devil.
Wow, Desiree, what warrior princess. Oh my God, look at you.
Well, thank you.
I believe that the evil and the good is always there, and if we are aware enough and we are there to care and care to share, then we can defeat them.
And here we come on the type of future we can see if we have an agricultural society where we get all of our stuff through nature and harmony and technology guided with nature.
That is the key to defeat the evil aliens and to succeed on this planet.
God said, let there be music. On with the show.
Well, give us a hand for having the courage to expose this. Tell the world, because these things are possible. We need to recognize this. It is quite possible that evil aliens have planted foods to try to make us fat and make us food sources. We need to recognize these things and do something about it. I hope that you can share and care and help to touch other people and get them to read more and more about the work that we're doing. And then we could take more and more responsibility for you and your family. This is Desiree Duganet, signing off.
In your heart, you can see what you want to be. set yourself free. Reality, infinity. Now is the time for the powers of the mind to face our future, to save mankind. Focus your thoughts in the mind you can see. Use your mind to set yourself free. The powers of the mind approach infinity. Focus your mind. Be all that you can be. Now is the time for the powers of the mind.